Oh, I did this story on Instagram. Okay, so guy, he's a Scottish man. He's 22. Smirks outside a court as he has conviction for raping a 13-year-old quashed after dodging jail twice because of lenient S&P laws. A man who was sentenced to unpaid work for after being convicted of raping a 13-year-old girl has had his conviction quashed because mistakes were made during his trial. No, the mistake is the judge being pro-raping children, and the original thing was, oh, he made a little mistake or something. It was some really bad thing, and I was like, what the fuck? You know, it was this thing. And now it came back up again, and it's all Sean Hogg, and I was laughing because his last name is Hogg, because he's a fucking swine. It's perfect. 22, that little sociopath smirked. He smirked, he smiled, he's a socio, and he's a rapist. He's a pedophile, rapist, white supremacist piece of shit, right? As he left court after being told he would not be subjected to a retrial following his acquittal. So the court system and all the white male supremacists promoted rape, so laws are a fucking joke. Hogg was convicted of raping a 13-year-old on various occasions, not just once, guys, between March and June 2018, when he was age 17. He is a serial rapist already, by, you know, he's not even 18 yet. He's a serial rapist raping children. He was spared jail by Judge Lord Lake. Yeah, I looked at him, and he looks like a straight-up pedo, too. In April, and was instead given 270 hours of unpaid work. Yeah, this was the most ridiculous case that came to me. And I think I was going to do a clip on it, but I just went off on Instagram. I was like, and Instagram really hates me. Every man has been pro-fucking rape since the beginning of time. We're trying to stop the pedo rapists from raping everybody. That is the actual order of things. Always been rapists, so there's no debate. Do not sit there and try to argue with us that you're not a bunch of goddamn rapists. You never believed in consent. Your version of consent is not consent. Coercion is not consent. For spiritually telling people they have to submit to men is a brainwash. That is evil. So this hog pig right here, there was insufficiency of evidence for conviction. The appeal must succeed. No, there was absolute... oh my god. I told you this case will really piss you off. The whole thing did. And there's a lot of outraged people. In fact, they just put 100 comments since I last refreshed the page. Miss Findlay said, Lord Lake did not properly follow the correct legal procedures used in Scotland to establish the guilt of a rapist. Now they made it worse, because it was already terrible to begin with, because he was a rapist sympathizer. And then now they're saying, oh, wait, you just didn't even follow the procedure, so we're going to let this boy off completely. This is insane. The defense lawyer told the court that the complainant, whose evidence led to Hogg's conviction, have her account corroborated. And, okay, so some of this stuff is still from the Bible type of shit, so their whole thing was you have to have a witness, like, to your rape or something. So, they make it where it's just completely legal, right? That's the whole MO of that whole thing. And the whole thing, they were promoting rape. So, it's like, if you want that girl, go rape her, and then we'll give her to you. Yeah. They were always pro-rape. Who the fuck is defending the Bible? It was always pro-rape. That was the manipulation in it. It literally says there's nothing to debate. If you go rape a girl and you get forced to get married, that was for men to just go rape women and then you get her. The lawyer told the court, and so all these laws are based around the Bible, mostly, I guess in Scotland too, because that's where they went. So it says the defense lawyer told the court that the complainant, whose evidence led to his conviction, had to have her account corroborated. Mr. Findlay said Lord Lake told jurors in his legal direction that the complainant's evidence could be corroborated by an account of a man who said that she appeared distressed following the incidents which led to Hogg's conviction. So they need to have a witness? You shouldn't have to have a witness. So why didn't the man, here's another thing with something like this, right? Why didn't the man go report something? I don't know. But anyway, the lawyer told the court that it was wrong for Lord Lake to have told the jurors this. He said the witness's account of distress could not corroborate the complainant's account. Okay, so basically, if you just didn't fucking watch the rape itself, you're up shit creek in Scotland. Oh my god. Rape. Mr. Findlay said, my submission is that the jury were misdirected by the trial judge. No, they just made this worse because he should have been convicted. And then they didn't convict him properly. They said they toned it down to, it's no big deal. And then now they're just like, you know what? He shouldn't get in trouble at all. Oh my God. Look at him. He's a straight up sociopath monster. Look at this guy. This is Paul Flores. Look at this. Yep, he's a socio. That's a socio right there. Just so you guys know, you can tell him physically. He isn't. Look at that. That's a fucking monster. That's a fucking goon. Then it goes into, it's not in the public interest to seek a new prosecution. After the hearing, they said, I know the complainant's experience of the criminal justice system has been very difficult. I have offered to meet with her and her family, and if they would be helpful to them. The Crown will seek to learn any lessons it can from the case as we continue to work to transform the way we prosecute sexual offenses. Middle finger, middle finger, middle finger, middle finger, male supremacists, white male supremacists. White male supremacists. You need to know what the fuck it is. That's what this is. And it's not ignorance. It's not ignorance, guys. It's not ignorance. Trust that. Like they're talking like they're so dumb they don't get it. No. The Crown, and they knew from the public's backlash that it was so terrible that the guy didn't get into trouble. They put him for like work thing. And we're like, what the fuck? He didn't even get prison for this shit? And then they turn around and they're like, oh, you know what? We're going to make it even worse. And then just let him go. The Crown Office had planned to challenge the unduly lenient sentence if the appeal against conviction had not succeeded. Yeah, you purposely killed it to make rape legal. Awesome. And that was set up purposely just like that. Because your argument was somebody needed to watch the rape. It's too much. I told you these stories today are just like, I have no energy. It drains me. It does drain me. I know some people think I sound funny sometimes. You know what? Because when you go through this like every fucking day and you see it where most people don't, like they're not sitting here reading through this every day on one single topic. So my niche is basically male supremacist rapist. But no, I talk about all sexual assaults of, women, whatever. It doesn't matter. But all the different ones, it's all the same shit. And it's like, it makes my brain hurt. And they all have personality disorders. Okay, they do. It's just factual, they do. Because all rapists have ASPD. Because nobody rapes anybody unless you have ASPD. They're trying to separate, another thing about it, they had the thing over in Israel or whatever. They're trying to separate that from this, and it's not different at all. They're using it as warfare. I'm like, this is warfare. This is warfare on our gender. And because they started this warfare on our gender, because it's not about love. It's always been about hate. They're hate crime. They do it to men as well because they're totally fine with it, right? So it affects them. So the more that they fight against us, women, they hurt themselves. So it's a self-harm thing because socios are dumb as shit, right? So they want the right to do this, but then want to be the victim in this other thing. And it's like, yeah, but it's you promoting this is the reason why you got touched as a kid by some other men or whoever, right? They don't understand the wheel that's in motion here. And I'm trying to break it down the best that I can, explaining it, even if it sounds so repetitive. It's like, I want to make sure you don't forget it. And it should be one of the most easiest things to pick up when somebody's talking. And you shouldn't need a mental health doctor to fucking tell you that guy is a sociopath. Because it's as easy as seeing if somebody's depressed, you know? They look a little depressed today, right? Yes, so anybody talking like that is a male supremacist. But they hadn't been using, and another thing I was even pointing out is that when they start talking about hate speech, the one hate speech that is the most okay is the hate speech on women. And the feminists have targeted that all kinds of wrong, because I even noticed it a long time ago when I was pointing something out, that the guy was saying hate speech when they start calling us gold diggers, right? So there's hate speech in that. And they'll go, oh, these myths, right? They'll go, these myths. They're saying, oh, that's sexist. And I'm like, well, no, you need to see what they're saying. They're actually saying in that. And that's the hate speech in it, but it's the most acceptable speech ever. And so because of that, they jump onto these type of cases. Normally they would be pro this guy getting away with it, but on this particular case, they're not, which is kind of a good thing that they're not. But in the past, they would have really been totally for this right here. You might see a few in the comments. I'll skim through the comments, but no, but they'll say things like, yeah, we need a witness. So again, that comes from the Bible. We are not biblical, and the court should not be operating as a fucking church, okay? So, as in any country, religions form a vital part of the culture in Scotland. A recent census has established that the majority of the country's practice is Christianity. While the national church of the country is the Church of Scotland, it's important to recognize that it is not under the control of the state, which is bullshit, right? So how they came up with their laws revolves around their general moral beliefs, right? And it was the Bible, right? The church. Yeah, so here we go. Christianity not only has the largest following in Scotland, but is also one of the oldest, with its presence here dating as far back as the 2nd century. So why am I pulling this up? Because they were always rapists. Because this is where their ideology came from. I cannot stress it any more than that. He raped a child, and they okayed this guy to rape a child, and in the Bible, it wants a witness. And so this is where their laws came from, and we're trying to, yeah, and they're sitting there playing dumb about it. I know, they know exactly what they're doing. So it's insane for them to ever try to flip the script that only a sociopath would do and try to go after LGBTQ, calling them pedos, when in fact they're the pedos right here in your face, right? So they've been openly into children. That has been the whole thing about the doctrine. And so, yeah, so no matter what, even if the country goes, we're about freedom and freedom of religion, the reality is they are a Christian pedo nation, because everybody is Christian. So nothing's going to be created, anything outside of that ideology. That's absurd, because that's all they know, right? And so their whole fucking makeup is this. But it tails off, because the minute that they hate and see women as objects, which is a sociopath, there's a reason why this guy is a sociopath, okay? So we've already went through a million things on that. So they see us as an object, and then they see other people as an object, and they see themselves as being the most special thing on the planet Earth, and that they're above women and everybody else, right? And so it tails off into that neo-Nazi shit, and they try to separate themselves from it, and they're actually not separate from it at all. They just hate another group of people, those guys. But they hold everything else, the same ideology, together. Like, they can legitimately sit in a room and agree on everything else, except for some little portions that they go off of. We want to take out the Jews or something. Those guys over there, right? So that's the only addition to it. But they agree on everything else. And so they're so much alike. They don't want to get a fucking mirror to see that they're all violent pieces of pedo rapist shit. That's the truth of it. So that's the factual foundation of Scotland. That's where they came up with those laws. That's what we're talking about there. It infuriates me because if you don't understand at least that portion of things, you're not gonna go at this right. So, and you're gonna let them fling out stupid shit like that. And the actual factual truth is the Christians are the pedos. Yes, factually true. And they just did right here. This is their laws, right? So who's actually allowing them to rape the children? There was no transgender here as the judge. Yes. So this will matter. The age of consent in Scotland, because they're all child pedo rapists, because these are the laws from the Christians, right, is 16. So, and it matters because in their country, he's considered an adult. Which technically he's not, okay, in the fairness of this. He was still a minor at the time. However, it's still rape. And so you could actually determine, do we treat him as an adult here or we don't, as far as the legal goes. But no, if it's 16, then and he was 17, that's their laws, right? So the court and we want to up all these ages to 18 anyway, all across the land. But you could still be the perpetrator rapist as a minor, and then they'll have different things for that. It should have never turned out to this way. But court papers state that Hogg attacked her on various occasions. Again, so he's the serial rapist. Look at him. This guy you really want to put, like, this guy is just, I know, and then Machine Gun Kelly's off to the side. He was promoting that he wants to rape a kid too. So a long time ago. Okay. As well as being ordered to carry out unpaid work, Hogg was put under supervision and placed on the sex offenders register for 3 years. He only got a 3-year thing. And on sentencing, Hogg, Lord Lake, said, rape is one of the most serious... Oh, here we go. Ha ha! Okay, yeah, I remember this. Okay, so white supremacist rapist men, like actual rapist men, because they all are, rape is one of the most serious crimes, and that is why he is tried at the high court. Bullshit. Bullshit. Because anybody could be tried at the court, right? But your laws there are actually telling us you're pedo fucking rapist, and you want witnesses to a rape. If there's witnesses to a rape, then they would be accountable also for the rape. And you got that from your doctrine of crack smoking, pot, fucking whatever. Yeah, but anyway, they always say this thing about rape is one of the most serious crimes. It's bullshit. It's just manipulation. They say this, but it's actually not, because the guy, this Lord Lake, I could tell you right now, is a rapist. Looking at the circumstances, her age and vulnerabilities are aggravating factors. For the level of seriousness, I have to consider your liability and have regard to your age as a factor. Because there they consider, if you have an age of consent of 16, you view him as an adult. But watch this. This offense, if committed by an adult over 25, you attracted a sentence of 4 or 5 years, which is still pretty low for multiple series of rapes, right? But they have a thing there that they don't consider you adult till over 25, which I think that's ridiculous. We have 21 for the drinking age, but you could rape each other at 16. So this is the clusterfuck of scrambled egg brain sociopath, okay? So this is the laws that they created, okay? Men, white men. The offense, if committed by an adult over 25. Okay. I don't consider that appropriate, and he didn't consider having a 4 to 5 year sentence for raping a 13-year-old multiple times. He's a rapist. After he just said, did he not just say that he thought this was the most serious of crimes, right? That's what I said. They tell you who they are. They do. They tell you who they are. And believe them. I don't consider that appropriate and don't intend to send you to prison. You are a first offender with no previous history of prison. You are 21 and were 17 at the time. Prison does not lead me to believe this will contribute to your rehabilitation. He's a sociopath. He's a serial rapist, sociopath. We don't care about first-time offender. A human body is being harmed. This is, you know how they're viewing this? And this is another problem to it. They're viewing it like, let's say I just walk down the street and then today I feel like breaking into a car, right? So I break into a car. It's the first time I ever broke into a car. Okay, well, I'm not actually physically harming another human, right? So you could look at that and go, that's the first time you ever did that. We'll give you a lenient sentence. So here, women are an object like the car, right? You see it? You're an object to this guy right here. It's the first time you harm that human. And so it's not a big deal. Do you see that? Socio ASPD. At no time should women be treated like the object car. It doesn't matter if it was the first time. It's always the first time from an offender, right? To another individual. I was like, well, that's the first time that guy raped me. So it doesn't matter, you know? You're harming a human, not an object. But here's where the object is very obvious how they view us as objects. And that's part of being a sociopath. Yes. And that's part of how he's talking right there. I tell you, I already know he's a rapist. The judge. Because you see the contradictions all over, right? I don't think you should go to prison for 5 years. This is the first time you raped an object. It has no fucks for the victim, right? It has no fucks for the human. You're just a car. You know, whatever, how they ever want to view you. I told you, this stuff drains the shit out of me. I was like, I don't want to read anymore today. I was like, I'm really pissed. Okay, so, because this case went to levels that, okay. Yeah, so then they went back in. Okay, then it's all, we will take our time to consider the issues in this case, and we will issue our decision in writing in due course. Lady Durad. Okay, speaking after, yeah, all these guys wear these wigs and everything. Oh my god, they're too ridiculous. Okay, speaking after Hogg's conviction was squashed today, his accuser said she now has no hope of closure. Yeah, have no hope in men. Just, you know, you could even make the choice of never being around another one. They're going to force themselves on you anyway and rape you, so. She also urged the Scottish government not to introduce juryless rape trials, as is under consideration. I don't know. You might want a jury. I don't know. Are you sure? The public is a rapist. I don't think there's a win for this. Wait, her solicitor said she felt the police investigation had been robust. As the trial judge's actions as prejudicial to the defense. Yeah, because she's an object. Okay, when she went to the police, she had a hope for justice. When the jury returned a verdict of guilty, she thought finally she could move on with her life. She appreciates the senior judges have come to this decision after very careful consideration. Does not take away from her feelings of devastation and knowing that there's no hope of closure. My client will remain ever grateful to the police who carried out a robust investigation and wish to thank the jury for doing their duty. Okay, my client has a question for the judiciary, the government, and the Lord Advocate. I cannot do the Lord thing, man. This shit would piss me off. They keep calling these men lords. That's kind of a problem. If somebody keeps calling me Lord, yeah, there's a clip on my thing about these Christian guys where they're like, call me Lord. I'm going to rape you and you need to call me Lord. Yes, no. She asked if there's anyone who will say that it was never the intention of sentencing guidelines for under 25 to mean convicted rapists could escape imprisonment. Yeah. We care only about the rapist and not about the victim and him harming everybody else in public, but you're an object, so they don't have any care to protect women because they're sociopaths, okay? Because if you're for rape, you're a sociopath, okay? Make it very goddamn clear. So that's why they don't care, because you're not the thought in this whole process. It's just, we got to protect the white boy. We're nothing. Okay, Mr. Anwar said the family of the complainant said her life had been turned back 6 years to when she was 13. Yeah, because they're pedophiles, right? And she also felt that they were left in the dark by the Crown Office, which is pledged to learn lessons from case. No, they're sociopaths. They would have never had a law like that. Like at no, okay, so they're saying that they just woke up today and they just did that. They've been doing that. And that's what they saw as being right and moral, to rape children. And nobody to get busted for it. As they speak out of their ass, they speak out of both sides of their mouth, right? You heard it. They're manipulators. They're manipulators. This is the most horrible crime ever. Oh, get no time, right? Get no time. They're manipulators. Listen to them. Listen to them. They lie into your fucking face in the same sentence. Okay, my client believes in jury trials for rape. I don't know. All right. I was like, are you sure? Did you see the Michael Jackson fucking jury? I was reading that kid's body language, and he was moving around too much, so he looks guilty. Yeah, that jury? Uh-huh. I don't know if you want that jury. The public's worse. Trust that. She feels that 15 ordinary men and women are best placed to decide innocence or guilt. I disagree with that. I disagree with that. I will tell you. Have you been online? I was like, because that's your jury. To conclude, it is important for my client that a court today and in my meeting after court, the Crown did not renounce the right to prosecute should new evidence become available. Okay. I'm exhausted. Okay, so Scotland seems to have the worst justice system on the planet. Oh, you think so? But in California, they actually don't even let you go into a court. So basically, it's worse than that, right? They won't even let you go into a court to take that son of a bitch in, to even go through that process. So no, that's not actually true. It's just you're seeing them taken into the process and they don't get busted at all. But we see that all the time here, right? We do. I go through the cases every day and I'll go back and then somehow it gets tossed out. Some bullshit, right? It's just there's not a lot of follow-up on these guys. Absolute disgrace that he could walk out of court laughing. That poor girl, yeah. I'm going to tell you this. You know he's a sociopath and he is absolutely guilty because just hypothetically, let's say you guys want to sit there and say women make up shit. They, for the most part, they don't. So let's say some girl made up some shit, right? And you got accused, right? And you didn't do it. You really didn't do it. And you fucking went to court. And you would be scared to death, right? Because you're like, fuck, I never did this. This woman's making shit up, right? Would you be walking out of the court laughing? No, that would be the last thing you'd be doing. You would be very relieved and going, holy fuck. That's a normal human emotion. His emotion is laughing because he just manipulated through the system. And he didn't have to try hard, did he? Because the system is for white men. I know, they're all unbelievable. Under 25 treated as a child. Who comes up with this rubbish? White men. White men. And they're Christians. Uh-huh. That's why I look at that stuff. Because I'm like, well, who came up with that kind of shit? Oh, Christians, yeah. So most of these cases that we go through from here to other countries, the general population, except for that one place, they're Christian majority. They were all originally, I don't know about every single country, but a huge majority of them had a origin of being mostly an all Christian. And so that's what matters most, because that's where all the laws, the rule, and society was created out of, right? So I was like, yeah, so when they created the society, it was out of the Bible. And so what's happening is we're trying to change the laws away from the biblical doctrine purposely, and they know it, and that's flipping them out. But we're not for pro-raping children. So the church is manipulating its flock, right? By telling it that other people are part of that problem of being a pedophile. But no, it was actually ingrained in the church doctrine. So they created all these laws to rape children. So right now we are fighting to change that so they don't rape any more children. And so because they keep putting these laws out there like that, we have to come in and try to change the laws that they created. So it's trying to fix that problem and of them abusing children, sexually abusing children, abusing other people, kidnapping people, human trafficking people, because they actually were some of the originators of human trafficking. So they're trying to determine what is human trafficking, and if it starts touching in on their shit, they consider it not human trafficking, which is utter bullshit. So America is very big on human trafficking, and any slave that was here was human trafficked. Them having them as a slave is human trafficking. There's a number of things that they did that is human trafficking. It is not a consensual sex worker, which they want to manipulate into that. So they manipulated it into that so they can target women and keep them submissive to them. And they started wanting to lock up women and throwing them into institutions, right? So those are the Christians, and that was a Christian majority thing. And it's also very neo-Nazi. So regardless if somebody dropped their religion, they're still fundamentally a Christian. That's what I'm saying, because that's their foundation. Again, I don't think people really get that. So them saying they're an atheist, really, they're still just a Christian that doesn't believe in a God. We still have a society that's still fundamentally Christian. So there would be no real way to get around that. You guys still get married, right? Well, that's part of that thing right there of ownership. Now, historically, it may go even back further what that's about, but technically that's where that's coming from. So a female in Scotland who is attacked such a horrible way must have actual witnesses to physically saw what happened. Yes, that's biblical though, George. And that's actually here too, right? Yes, so again, that was the 3. In fact, let's find it. Okay, I'm not going to read any more comments because they're all going to be mostly they're actually against this guy, which is good. It says it's weird. If you're under 25 and a criminal, you apparently have an undeveloped brain in Scotland, but you can vote in Scotland's election if you're 16 and over and still underdeveloped brain, presumably. Oh my God, you could vote at 16? No, I wouldn't let them vote at 16. Only because, okay, so it should be you didn't pull up the age of consent. You should have pulled up that. The age of consent is at 16. If you're not out living on your own, which maybe they are at 16 out there, but if you're not out living on your own, I don't believe children should have any right to vote for things that do not concern them. They can have opinions of things, but if you're not, if they would have things to vote for things that have to do with my livelihood as an adult, which do not pertain to them. No, I do not believe children should be voting. Okay? Because they have some shitty ass fucking point of views. And I did too when I was a minor. Because when I was a minor, I was like, I'm against abortion because it did not affect me until I got a lecture from somebody. So you want me to vote for that when it didn't affect me, and I was not really educated enough yet to understand all that, right? No, you wouldn't want me to. I was like, I wouldn't want me to either as a kid. See, you call it the patriarchal legal system. Basically, it's the male supremacist legal system was put in, and the reason why I really want to hard focus on that, because they're trying to separate themselves from these other hate groups, and they're not separate from them. And that's actually the whole main meat of this whole thing, is that they're men, and they believe in all male supremacy, right? And regardless of the religion, because it could be any religion, it could be any part of the world, and it's men that believe that they're the king hierarchy. But we're talking about the same thing, yeah. But their system was put in place to forgive men for sexual violence against women and girls, and rape of females as young as 3 years old is so prevalent in our society as to be considered normal by too many males to count. Police, lawyers, judges, politicians, teachers, vicars, doctors and pop stars. Rapists abound are still rarely convicted or even blamed by other men. There you go. Toronto, Canada. Okay, Doomer. Male supremacist. That's the patriarchal legal thing. So I don't like doing the patriarchal thing because it's I think it's just more direct when you're saying male supremacist. But and also notice how government tries to separate itself from male supremacists. So they'll go violent, right-wing, male supremacists. But what they're saying is we are male supremacists, but we view those male supremacists as worse. It's fucked up, but FBI did it. And I go, no, but you're male supremacists. So who's the non-violent male supremacist? They don't exist. There's no such thing because they're sociopaths. Not having empathy and not viewing other people as human. So therefore, you can go out and harm them all, and you find enjoyment in harming other humans. So in order to get there, you're a socio. I was like, but because I got beat, right? Because of the church. The church was heavily abusive, and they beat the shit out of those kids, and they raped them. So you're going to come out a fucking sociopath. There's a lot in that. There's a lot in it. I said it's such a layered thing, but my personal opinion on it, as far as the start and the thing of it, is that before religions were created, or they were probably always going around like they thought a god was in the sky, this stuff right here, that the narcissistic problem where they start having a god complex, right? So the god complex would create something as you thinking you're a god, right? And that's before you don't need a religion for that. So that's part of that PD. So them coming up going, oh, this male god, and they chose me to do this. Yeah, it's coming from that. And that's part of the PD. So technically, the thing that came first was the personality disorder, in my opinion. So it's something that came up, and then at some point it evolved into them creating all these religions with this, what you're calling patriarchal legal thing, the patriarchal system there. That's the whole diagram, which is used for the church, right? But it's also used in a million other religions. You'll see it. So it has the Godhead, yeah. But you can remove the Godhead and like remove the God, right? And it's still there, right? It's still men on top. They still believe that they're on the top of the pyramid. And so it doesn't even need the Godhead there to be male supremacy. So some people were arguing, Hitler's an atheist. I'm like, yeah, but Hitler's origin was Catholic, Christian, whatever. And so that's the foundation of his brain. And so he's going off of that. And then they beat the shit out of him or something. Someone probably raped him. They did something to him. So he goes off and he becomes this very, evil person, right? So that's actually the foundation of it. And so we need to tackle that. And they want to fight back and start arresting everybody else that doesn't agree with their ideology, right? So everything about what they do is by force. They're rapists, right? So if you understand they're rapists just by default, then what do rapists do, right? What do rapists do? They do everything against your will, and they do things by force, and they don't give a shit about your agency. So that'll be the same thing that they do for anything, right? So they'll kidnap you. They'll do all these things, right? So if you know what a rapist does, you know the mindset of a male supremacist. That's why. I said I just gotta keep educating on it. And it doesn't even matter if you want to use different terminologies. You can call them psychopath. You can call it patriarchal thing. We're talking about the same thing. And when you understand those things all together, then you know how this came about. And mostly the religious aspect of in these different countries, right? Because it's like, holy shit. I don't know what some certain other regions, I learned about it just when I'm pulling up these cases. I'm like, well, what was its background over there? It'll be Christianity, or someone's like Catholic. Now there's one that's like almost all all non-religious now, but it was originally all Christian. And so that society will still be suffering because its origin was all Christian. So you'll see it in the statistics. So I'll go to the statistics and they're still raping, right? So there's things, just because they drop the God doesn't mean that they drop the ideology. And you want to get rid of the ideology and get rid of everything that male supremacists had created. And that's the problem, because that's what they call tradition, and that's their whole makeup, and they hold on to it, right? So they don't want to let it go. And they're trying to bring back all the old, all of that, because it's dying. The religions itself is dying, but they're still not rid of the ideology in such as the court right there, right? Or anyway, how they're viewing that we have school or police or any of those things. And you'll hear people of color talking about it too, of that whole system of things were originally created by the racist, right? So yeah, it's that. But the good thing is what I'm saying right now is, when I'm going through the comment section, if this was in maybe even in 2010, I believe that the comment section would have said something completely different. They'd be like, well, where's the proof? No, she can say anything she wants. It would be all like, we still read this today in the comment section, but